Good afternoon, Irish fans, and welcome to the next episode of the Dirishfan Podcast. My name is Danny. I'm not an Irish fan, I am the Irish fan, and I'm about to put that notion to the test today as I talk about the recent College Football Playoff Committee selection show. Very interesting selection show. Before I do, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that every single time your boy posts an episode, you guys can listen to this guy, this fan, this deep Irish fan, talk Notre Dame football and the world of college football as it pertains to Notre Dame football. So let's get into this travesty. My thoughts. Look, I haven't listened to anybody. I haven't talked to anybody, for the exception of a couple of buddies who were watching the live show at the same time. So this is complete and total, 100% unfiltered, my opinion. There's a lot of people to blame. There's a lot of things that you can ask questions about. There's a lot of finger pointing you could go to. This is how I see it. First and foremost, and I don't know if a lot of people will agree with this or not, and you might be turning me off as soon as I say this, but look, the truth is, as much as it pains for me to say this, I blame us the most. I blame Notre Dame. Chiefly, I blame Marcus Freeman. You have to look inward before you look outward first, and how we're going to do that. There's plenty of questions I have for the CFP, for ESPN, for the college football playoff world at large, for the conferences. Oh my gosh, the conferences, and I'm gonna have some stuff to say about all those things. But first and foremost, you have to look inward, and you have to look at where to blame, and it's almost always within. It starts with Marcus Freeman. Coach, you're in charge of this team. You have been given the reins of a program that has not experienced the mountaintop of its sport for 37 years. And there are reasons why that are out of your control. There are reasons why that I'm going to also talk about that started way before you were a coach, not way before you were even a player in college at Ohio State. So when I say this rests chiefly on your shoulders, I'm saying that figuratively as it pertains to this season. This season, you are in control. You're in control of this season, and you decided to completely change your defensive philosophy in the offseason, hire a completely different defensive coach that you yourself are, and that you had under you for the previous 3 seasons, completely different. You decided that was what needed to happen, and you went, and it took you an entire offseason and 2.5, really 3 football games to decide that you shouldn't be doing that anymore, or at least majority of the time. It took you 2 games, 2 almost important games, to figure this out, and it cost us 2 football games. If we just win one of them, we're playing for a national championship. And quite frankly, we're one of the teams with the odds-on favorite to win it. We were that good this year, and the rest of the field has been playing I don't want to say that bad, but the rest of the field is not that great. And when I say that great, this is one of those unique years where the rest of the field, there is no 2018 Clemson. There is no 2020 Alabama. There's no 2005 USC, where you have 2 Heisman Trophy winners on the same football team. There is no team like that this year. Who knows if that's going to be, how we're going to see that from year to year to year. Last year, we faced a program in Ohio State that had a $25 million payroll, and they were just not going to be denied. This year was totally different. This year, we actually faced a field where we compared not just evenly, but superiorly to most of the field. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see that because the first 2, the most important games of the year, and it's not your fault that those games happen to fall in the first 2 games of the year. That's not your fault. We scheduled that Texas A&M game way back in the day, I think in 2015. And when Brian Kellis, he famously said, "Oh, that's great. You know, that's awesome. We're playing Texas A&M. Packy and I are going to be sipping a Mai Tai in South Pacific." Guess what? He is, because he just got fired. And you had no control over that. You had no control that Texas A&M was scheduled, and that Miami was scheduled. And in previous 10 years, us playing Miami the first game of the year probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal, because it's just now that they're starting to get good again. They had their most experienced quarterback that they've had outside of Cam Ward for last year, play for them this year. And what you decided was that playing a non-aggressive, sit back, bend but don't break, zone scheme, primarily zone scheme, was the way to go. And you gambled and you lost. And that's the way it goes. That's the way football is played. That's the way sports is. And as it pertains to the season, you, coach, for making those decisions are 100% number one in taking blame for us being held out of the playoff. You gave the committee and the rest of the college football world an excuse. And I have been saying this on this podcast to friends, to family, to anyone that would listen to me talking Notre Dame football. I've been saying this for years. They are wanting an excuse to hold us out of the playoff because we're not in the conference, because everybody wants a piece. Everybody wants a little bit of Notre Dame, and they're gonna cause pain, as much pain as possible, until that happens. Now again, that's another conversation. That's another point that I'm going to have. That's not necessarily your fault, but you, coach, you decided to play that kind of defense against a really experienced quarterback, a really talented Miami team. You got bit, you lost. Then once you saw how conservative football really doesn't work for you and for Notre Dame, you did it again. You doubled down. And you decided to use the same strategy against a very talented, very good Texas A&M football team. And you let them score 41 points at home. At the beginning of the season, everyone has their keys to victory. Notre Dame needs to do this. Notre Dame needs to do that. My list was a list of don'ts. You can't let this happen. That was my list. One of those things on that list of things you cannot let happen was lose at home. You could not lose at home. A playoff team doesn't lose at home. You can forgive losses on the road. You could have forgiven that loss against Miami if you beat Texas A&M, or vice versa. You lose against Miami, you see, you know what, that strategy that we did on the offseason didn't work so well. Let's go back to what we do well. Let's take it to Texas A&M, win the football game, and defend our house. You didn't do that either, and you lost that game too. That's on you. That's on us. So you gave the rest of the committee, you gave the rest of college football an excuse to hold us out, and that's what happened. That's chiefly the reason why we got held out. Now begins the list of questions. Well, first, before I ask these questions, let me kind of tie up the whole us Marcus Freeman / this season thing. Let's put that in a bow. You did correct the ship. You saw it didn't work. You righted the ship, and for whatever it's worth, Chris Ash, we got better. That's the goal of every football team over the course of the years. You start off a certain way, however that is, and you get better. I don't care if you're the number one team in the country or the worst team in the country. The goal is to get better, and that happened. There's a list of goals that you accomplished, and you did. You accomplished some of them. Are they the ones that we want? In the end, no. We're what are we doing here if we're not trying to compete for national championships and win them? Well, that's done. It's over. The season's over. It's done. We're gonna play in the Cheez-Its Bowl or whatever, and it's gonna be a bunch of backups and second strings playing another team with a bunch of backups and second string. Will I be watching? Absolutely, I'll watch it, and I'll love it because I love football and I love Notre Dame. But it's meaningless. It's a glorified scrimmage until next season, and that's the nature of college football now. That's That's how it is. And believe I'm not complaining. I'm one of those people that bowl games should be played and that these games should be played. They do matter to an extent, but they only matter in the grand scheme of next season. Let's be honest. That's the truth. And next season matters too. So in the grand scheme of things and getting better and learning, they are important. So it's not a meaningless game, but it's not, as far as this season is concerned, it is meaningless. So, unfortunately, we just saw the best player since Rocket Ishmael play his last snap in Notre Dame. That sucks. And coach, I really hope I really do hope that you learn from this. That if you didn't before, which I'm not saying you did, but if you didn't before, understand how important every single game is. And not just every single game, but playing at home. Notre Dame has got to be a place that is impossible to play again. It used to be that. Among the list of things that we need to get to rectify, to get better, to become again, is how we play at home. And Coach Freeman, I love you. I do. No one supports you more than I do right now in this world. I promise you. No one wants more success for you than I do. I promise you. You have got to learn how to defend your house. You have lost a game a year at home since you've been a coach at Notre Dame. This is your 4th season. And some of those are inexcusable losses. Marshall, Northern Illinois. You just can't let this happen anymore. With what we have coming back, and this will be another podcast, but what we got coming back next year, what I think this team will do next year, I'm going to go ahead and say it now. You better win every game at home. Every game at home. I don't care who we play. I don't care who it is. I don't care who we play at home. Every single game at home is a W, period. Learn from this. Learn to rectify your mistakes quickly. Brian Kelly was notorious for this. He would wait half a season before changing something that was clearly not working. Okay, he was notorious for it. It took you 3 games to figure out, okay, we need to change our defensive philosophy again. You need to do this faster. It needs to be done faster. So that's the bow. That's how I'm gonna stop, because I could talk about this forever, and I'll talk about it more as time goes on. But hopefully you learn those lessons. This is a hard pill to swallow, and it should be hardest on you, Coach. It should be hardest on you, because I put all of this at your feet. I do. But again, I say that as a father would to a son. I say that as I'm not trying to get too deep or anything, but I say that as a true fan of Notre Dame. I love you. I love my school. I love Notre Dame. I want us to be great. So the buck is stopping there, and so bow tied. Questions. This head-to-head thing, I have never seen anything like it in my adult life. I've never heard the term head-to-head more than I have in the last 2 weeks in my entire sport life. Now, having that said, I happen to be a firm believer in head-to-head. I actually agree with head-to-head. I have been shouting that we were robbed of a national championship in 1993 because of head-to-head. And anyone smiling or laughing or saying sour grapes, look back at your team, okay? And you look at all the championships that you should have won or lost. And you start evaluating those kinds of apples, all right? We were robbed of a title in 1993 because of this argument being made right now. This huge, important argument that everyone finally is paying attention to. We lost a championship because of that. A championship. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'll say this, committee. I'll say this. You got it right. Let's hope you remain as objective in the future. Okay? Let's hope when it comes down to an Alabama or a Georgia or a Clemson or an Ohio State and a Bama, that you will remain as objective. If there's a head-to-head or a Texas or an Oregon or one of these other programs, if there's another head-to-head matchup where a school is going to be left out because of this most important of all important unspoken rules in college football, head-to-head, you will remain as objective as you have been with Notre Dame. This week, question number 2. What the hell, excuse my language, what the hell were you doing for the previous month? Why not just rank Notre Dame 12th, 13th, or 14th and that be the end of it? You clearly made head-to-head the most important thing throughout this entire college football playoff. Did it not matter in the first couple of weeks and now it does? Or it did the whole time and the whole thing was a ruse to garner eyeballs on the college football playoff selection committee show, which is a whole nother embarrassment to the sport. It's a 3-hour farce. All you need to do is just put up a list of teams, and then you can talk about it for as long as you want. You make the stupid show 3 hours. Give me a break. All of that is indicative of the college football moment. And what is that moment? It's money. It's 100% and all about money. Eyeballs, clicks, clickbait, talking points, TV shows, podcasts. That's what it's all about. And you're a network, ESPN. You're a network that just annihilated Lane Kiffin, and I am no Lane Kiffin apologist, believe me. You annihilated Lane Kiffin for taking a job for money. When your entire operation is dedicated to that one thing. It's such a farce. It is such a joke. It is such an embarrassment to competition and to sports. It makes me sick. I don't know that I'll ever view this the same way again, whether Notre Dame's in it or not. I don't know that I'll ever see it the same way again. I honestly didn't watch the show. I was at a movie with my family doing more instructive things. But I was paying attention. And the way it was rolled out, you had number one, and you wait a minute or two and talk about that number one team. Number two, you wait a minute or two and you talk about that 2 team. And you go down the stupid list until you get to the dramatic. It's just a movie. It's a movie. It's beyond sports. It's just, it makes me sick. It does. But again, that's the moment that we're in. That's where we live. So the questions still remain. You need to be honest about how you came to this conclusion. If it's head-to-head, fine. Remain objective about it in perpetuity. You are on record and everybody's watching. You can never go back from this. You can never go back from this. And if you think this is the last example of this happening, oh man, get ready. Get ready for these head-to-head talks going forward. And a lot more vocal fan bases, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. A lot more vocal fan bases that are going to be shouting the same complaints going forward. So, what's the answer to that question? Why were we the 9th best team in the country for a month, and head-to-head didn't matter, and then the last week it does? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, and you have no logical explanation. Answer: you caved under the pressure of the conferences, particularly the ACC, and the most powerful of them all, the SEC. That's it. That's the answer. There is no logical explanation or reason. You had an opinion, and that's what the first couple of rankings were. Those were your opinions on who the best teams were. And then you had a lot of pressure from those 2 conferences and ESPN, and you caved. That's it. That's the answer. If I have to swallow the pill of it's our fault, which I firmly believe it's our fault, you are also going to swallow the pill of you did this for eyeballs and ratings. You did this for money, and you pulled the rug out from underneath us to prove a point. Period. That's it. That is it. Shame on you. You should have just had us at 12th or 13th or 14th, and this wouldn't be any controversy. But controversy doesn't sell, or non-controversy doesn't sell, does it? So you had to create it. You had to manufacture it, and that's disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourselves, and I'm ashamed to call myself a college football fan because you did it that way. So, question 3, where do we go forward? Where do we go from here? Where does the sport go? Where does Notre Dame go? Let's talk about the Irish first. This was definitely a shot across the bow to Notre Dame to join a conference. 100%. 100%. If anybody doesn't see it that way, you're kidding yourself. We talk truth here in this podcast. And the truth is the committee, the ACC specifically, but the rest of the college football world said, Notre Dame, you need to be in a conference, and we're going to make you be in one. And I have been saying for years that this was coming. For years. This has been coming for years. And some of the other reasons why we weren't, like last year, for example, we weren't held out of the playoff because we didn't lose another game. We were 11-1. Most of the field was 10-2 or 11-1. There were no undefeated teams. So, or there was one. It was Oregon. So they didn't really have a choice. We were going to be in the playoff, whether the committee or the conferences liked it or not. That was just the truth. So they didn't have any excuse. This year they did, and they made it known. If we give them this excuse, they are going to throw it in our face, and they did. This is a shot across the bow. Notre Dame, you need to be in a conference. I've been saying this for years. This is why I think we are eventually going to join a conference. I made if for those of you who are just listening the first time, I did a conference show last year. Why we aren't in one, the history of conferences, what I think about it. Go back and listen to that show. It's just basically what I think of conferences and my opinion. And what I shared on that show was eventually, do I think Notre Dame will join a conference? Yes. Do I think Notre Dame should join a conference? Yes. And the reason why is right now. Right? Is right. How you feel right now is the reason why we will and should join a conference. Because if they can, they will hold us out. Now, you might be saying, well, it's not advantageous to Notre Dame. It changes our identity. It changes how much money we bring in. It's going to change our recruiting. It's going to change. You're 100% right about all those things. But now you have to go into a recruit's home who's going to ask you, hey, coach, you were held out of the college football playoff. And you were held out specifically because you're not in a conference. Now, convince me why me going to your school is better for me when I can go to an Ohio State, a Clemson, a Georgia, or an Alabama, and I will automatically get a benefit of the doubt because they're in the SEC or the Big Ten. Why is that now advantageous for me to go to you and not them? And you got to explain that. I can't explain that. I love the tradition of Notre Dame. I love Rudy. I grew up on that stuff. I love touchdown Jesus. I love the mural of life. Okay, that's what it's called. I love the school. I love its identity. You can still have all of those unique factors and be in a conference. And you can position yourself in this conference because of how valuable your brand is in a way that is very advantageous to you. And the controversy, the talk, it'll be over. It'll be done with. A lot of you might be saying, well, if you do that, now you're just going to give everybody what they want. They're going to laugh at you and they're not going to respect you anyways. Yeah, you could run that risk. But this is big boy football. We're a big boy program. and some big boy decisions are going to have to be made. Now, if you choose to stay independent, okay, fine. Okay, fine. But you better build this program the right way. Which leads me into probably the entity with the most responsibility is Notre Dame itself. I talked about Marcus Freeman and his impact on this football team in this season. But this right here, what's going on right now, is a 37-year problem. It is a Notre Dame institutional problem. You have allowed Notre Dame, you in the administration, you have allowed Notre Dame to be in the crosshairs of the rest of college football and the realm of obscurity for 37 years. And you did it on purpose. You stayed behind the rest of college football in the 2000s when everyone started their arms race. Everyone started building new stadiums and having new field turf and new uniforms. And a lot of you might be rolling your eyes at that. Look, recruits care about that. Period. End of discussion. They just care. They care about that. That's why they stopped going to us. And that's why they went to places like Oregon and USC and Stanford and Washington for that matter. They care about those kinds of things. And we told the rest of the college football world, no, we're good. We don't need to do any of those things. We're Notre Dame. And we stayed in the land of obscurity up until the last 5 to 6 or 7 years. We did that to ourselves. We have the university and the administration to blame for that, most importantly. As a fan base, you should be pointing a finger at them first. If you are going to stay independent, I'm fine with that. But you better be prepared to throw everything that you possibly can at this football program. It's Notre Dame football. It's not Notre Dame field hockey. It's not Notre Dame baseball. It's not Notre Dame basketball. It's Notre Dame football, period. You are Notre Dame because of football. If it wasn't for football, if it wasn't for Knute Rockne and Frank Leahy, we would be Emory. We'd be Drake. We were a tiny little Midwestern school in the 20s. And those guys with that sport made Notre Dame what it is now. Period. And how you treat this program is going to reflect on your values and what you truly want as a university. You support not just what makes you money. That's not just what it's about. You support the most intriguing, most unique facts about that institution. And yes, we all love the fact that we're an academic institution. I've got good news for all of you. You don't have to sacrifice academics to be a top 5 national championship winning team year in and year out. You don't have to. Those are some of the lies that the rest of the world, they go into recruits' homes and say. You're not. They make you go to class. There are tons of kids who go to Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and Ohio State who can handle the academic rigors of Notre Dame. Plenty. You have to convince them that they're Notre Dame. I think we're starting to do that. We had a great recruiting class this year. I think we're starting to do that with Marcus Freeman, but it can't stop. It's got to continue. It's got to continue. If you want to stay independent, you've got to show the rest of the world we are all in on football. We are all freaking in. We want Notre Dame to be great again. We want Notre Dame to win national championships again. Not compete for them. We're there. We've arrived. We've done it. We're competing for national championships, quote unquote. I want to win one. And the only way you can win one is if you go all in on your football program. You don't have to sacrifice academics. Go all in on your football program. Which leads me to the next point. Pete Bavacqua did one interview yesterday. You had all these opportunities for Mario Cristobal and the ACC commissioner and all of these different entities to give sway to the College Football Playoff Committee, which I'm going to get to, and give them ammo and ammunition to leave us out of the playoff. Shame on you for not being vocal, for not being out there. And if you were, you did it very quietly. Very, very quietly. And more importantly, it didn't work. It didn't work. This should be a watershed moment for the administration of Notre Dame. This should be a moment where you go, okay, we're going to go all in one way or the other. We're going to go in. We're going to get in a conference, and we're going to get in the most advantageous conference possible for our university. Again, this is going to be something that most of you hate, but I think it's the Big Ten. If we're going to join a conference, it should be the Big Ten. This is. I'm getting ahead of myself. This will be a conference, or this will be a conversation for another day. That's where our traditional rivals are. The ACC is a joke. It's only a matter of time before Miami, Florida State, and Clemson bounce to the SEC anyway. A lot of you might say we should go to the ACC because we'll win it every single year, maybe. I don't see any reason why we couldn't win the Big Ten every year. IU just won it, for crying out loud. Again, conversation for another day. Excuse me. Excuse me. But going forward, what are you going to do? And you got to go all in. You got to make a decision. If it's not that, then it's going to be independence. Fine, I'm fine with that too. But you better go freaking all in. This cannot be something that you allow to stand. You can't allow this to stand. Companies, you need to have a lobbying firm in the college football playoff committee's ear weekly, nightly. You've got to be as powerful as these conferences are when it comes to sway within these committees, because they have more power, obviously. So you got to go all in. You're going to have to go all in as an institution in a university. What's that going to look like? I have no idea, but it's got to start. It's got to start now. Right now. You got to build your team for the future now. Next year, we are going to have a lot of talent on that football team next year. Coach Free, you got to hire the right coaches. Notre Dame, you got to give all the resources that you can possibly give to make sure you set that team up for as much success as they can enjoy. If you haven't already. It's got to change. I don't know how much longer I can handle this, honestly. This season, man, I tell you, every single time I get through a season where I feel like my heart couldn't be pulled out any worse in any way, in any worse fashion. We get all the way to the end of last year, or we start the season losing to a team like Northern Illinois. I just absolutely crushed. One of the worst feelings I've ever had as a Notre Dame football fan, hearkening back all the way to the days of losing to Tulsa. I mean, deep, dark stuff when it comes to being a football fan. All the way to going to the national championship, only for us to get our heart ripped out again by a team that was superior again to us. And I'm so sick and tired of saying that. If you're a fan and you're listening this long and you haven't felt that, I would ask the question: are you a fan at all? Are you a fan at all? If you're not feeling the way that I'm feeling right now, and I'm sick and tired of it. I want to hoist that trophy before I die, for crying out loud. I just want one national championship. I just want one. I think we're going to be set up talent-wise for the next 2 years, which is a long time for a head coach in college football, by the way. 6 years. This is Marcus Freeman's fourth. Next year will be his fifth. If he doesn't get it done by year 5 or 6, we're going to start asking those questions of, is he ever going to get it done? It's hard to win in college football, but you got to get it done. You've got to get it done. And if this year was not a shot across the bow, specifically at Notre Dame, the college football world, this is one of the things that is hard to swallow. The college football world took a shot at Notre Dame today. They took a shot at Notre Dame for a lot of different reasons. How are we going to respond? as a university, as a fan base, as a team, as a fan base. I started this podcast so that I could have a voice, some small or big voice, into holding the administration of the University of Notre Dame responsible and accountable for getting our football team a national championship. I hope that today, my words and my voice help that come to fruition in the future, maybe next year. A set of words that I am also sick and tired of saying. And I have said this from the beginning. This isn't just a shot at Notre Dame administration. This is a shot to the entire Notre Dame apparatus, the press, the websites, the podcasts, people like Irish Illustrated, people like Irish Breakdown, people like Always Irish, people like blueandgold.com. All of you need to hold this university accountable for what happened today. All of you. You should make them know that it is wholly unacceptable for this to happen. And you need to ask the questions, and you also need to supply some answers so that these people can be on record once and for all. Are we going to be okay with being Stanford, or are we going to be Notre Dame again? Well, are we going to be independent and support our team to the utmost possibility and dollar? Are we going to join a conference and put ourselves in the most advantageous conference humanly possible? What are we going to do? What should we do? Hold them accountable. It needs to happen. I'm so sick and tired of this. Next year. That's what we got today. We got a shot from the rest of the college football world. So going forward, we'll see. We're going to find out. We're going to find out a lot in the next. And this offseason will be really telling. Watch your phones. Watch your Twitter accounts, because you're going to see a lot of guys from Notre Dame transfer. You're going to see a lot of guys go early into the NFL. And we need to see how Coach Free and the rest of the university responds. Because everyone needs to take a good long look in the mirror. And this committee decision was a shot at Notre Dame. And again, I want to end this podcast with highlighting it, how much the committee completely and totally bent us over on this. All right. They could have, from the beginning, ranked us behind Miami. There was no reason not to, other than we were playing better and we're the better team. We are. Does the head-to-head matchup? Yes, it does. I'm not saying that, but teams progress and teams get better throughout the season. And if you're the most objective of football fans, you look at both of those football teams and look at the better football team. Even people on ESPN are saying, yeah, Notre Dame is the better football team, but they lost to Miami, so that should matter more. Fine. Totally fine. Then why wasn't that the case on the first day of the college football playoff rankings? They had the same record. They had the same strength of schedules. They were playing the same opponents. Everything was the same. Nothing had changed. Nothing was different. You put Miami ahead of Notre Dame and you call it a day. But again, I want everyone to remember these words. They did it for the controversy so that everyone would watch this playoff selection show. I want you to think about where we are as a college football fan base, as college football fans, as the sport progresses. I want you to think about that. If you have no problems with people making money and doing it solely for the money aspect, fine. I'm an American. Go make your almighty dollar. But if there's an ethical way of doing things while still making money, if there is a logical way of doing things while still making money, the college football, the CFP, the NCAA, and all of these universities that are part of these conferences, they did not do it that way. They didn't do it ethically. They didn't do it logically. They wanted to give a big old fat middle finger to Notre Dame. Yep. That's it. That should speak volumes to us as a fan base, to us as a university, and to the rest of college football. And if you were a fan base laughing today, that's fine. We deserve it. We deserve it. If you're USC, if you are Michigan, if you're Ohio State or Alabama, and you're laughing at Notre Dame today, okay. Do you think this is going to end with us? You are sorely mistaken. This will happen again. This will happen again. And it will most likely happen to another one of these blue bloods. And if it doesn't, then the college football playoff will just show their ass if they haven't already. That's going to be it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in for this long. I appreciate you. I love you. Please, again, like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that every time I post an episode, you guys can listen to some Notre Dame football. That's going to do it for today's show. Peace out. I love you, and we'll see you next time.